Yeah. That Mr. McMahon documentary kind of beat me to the punch, man. I've been wanting to do a video on the actual first screw job. You know, Montreal ain't the first screw job. If you saw the documentary, even if you didn't, you probably know about Wendy Richter and Moolah, the first screw job, where Wendy Richter was the champion for some years and kind of refused to drop the belt, refused to lose to people and shit. So Vince said, you know, you're going to have to take his property back. We just take it. Had the fabulous Moolah, who was the women's champion for many, many years before Wendy Richter, the WWF women's champion, I believe. But basically had Moolah come in as a mystery opponent with a mask and everything on. And she knew Moolah was the kind of woman who wouldn't give a damn about doing it. You know, Moolah didn't give a fuck. So, you know, if shit got ugly, Moolah would be, you know, down to, you know, scrap with her and everything. Moolah was an old school feisty broad. You know, she'd be down to get down and dirty with Wendy if that's what Wendy wanted to do. But, you know, Vince told the ref, like, you know, you're going to hook her, you know, you're going to hook her for the pin. They're going to count 3 regardless. Even if she kick out, count 3. So that's why it looked so sloppy, you know. I mean, she rolled her up, hooked her leg. She kicked out at like 1. Moolah kind of tried to hang on to the pin as much as she could, and the ref got the 3 in, and everybody got out like got up like, what the fuck just happened? Especially Wendy. And then Wendy grabbed the belt and kind of like, fuck it, I still ain't relinquishing the belt. And then Moolah kind of wrestled it away from her or whatever. But yeah, that was the first time he pulled that shit. It was damn near identical. And with that screw job in Montreal, you got people saying Jim Cornette came up with the idea. You got people saying fucking Pat Patterson. You know, there's a couple of cats that say they came up with the idea, but at the end of the day, you know, I think it was the right move for Vince. You know, that screw job sparked all of this shit. That Mr. McMahon character was born from the screw job. You know, the Attitude Era was born from the screw job. You know, the Monday Night Wars increased. You know, you had people de facto, people defecting from one company to the other and things, and it was a fun time. So, just in case you ain't know, the first screw job was not in Montreal. It was Wendy Richter versus the fabulous Moolah in Madison Square Garden for the classic WWF Women's title. And back then, women's wrestling was like a novelty act. There wasn't many women on the roster. If they was on the roster, they were not wrestlers. They were valets and managers and personalities and shit. Very few would get in the ring, and so back then the women's champion would kind of just have the belt for a long time. She probably hardly ever defended, and when she did, it'd be against some random opponent, you know, some Japanese girl they bring in or whatever. And them Japanese chicks can go, but you know they ain't gonna put them over in the States, so they just bring them over here to lose and make the champion look good. So as I was saying, back in those days, female wrestling was more like a novelty act. You know, it wasn't really it was like the midgets on the card. You know, you had the girls, you had the midgets. You know, and that wasn't every card, but for the most part. You know, you had to have something on there for everybody, so they put the girls and the midgets and shit, and the dude wrestling the bear, and you know, all that old bullshit, all that old hokey shit. So, come full circle today, you know, women's wrestling has improved tremendously, but it still ain't quite where it need to be because of the way it's viewed. They're allowing so many women to get into the ring before they really time to get in there, before they really had the ring time, the mat time, to get on their shit. And then they putting them on TV and they look like shit, and then it kind of exposed the whole female wrestling thing. And then you had guys like me who come on the internet and knock it, and it look like I don't like women's wrestling when I actually do. I just like good women's wrestling, you know. So anyway, man, that was the first time Vince pulled that one. And it probably will be, well, it's definitely going to be the last one since he's no longer in the business. But I had another video coming out soon, man. It's a more like not a fantasy booking, but a what if. Like, what if Vince returned to wrestling? I got a theory that, I ain't going to say it right here, but when I tell it to you and when we map it all out, it's going to make perfect sense. And don't be surprised if the shit end up happening, because I am Negrodamus. I do happen to speak things into existence, so. We'll be back a little later with some more wrestling videos. I'll see you then.